Alright, today we're building a Japanese onsen for our Japanese macaques, and I'm definitely going to do some things wrong. But anyways, hey everyone, my name is Poisonblade. I hope all of you are doing well today. Don't forget to hit the like button, and now let's see what this crazy squirrel got up to today. Alright, has anyone ever been to a onsen or bathhouse or bathing facility? Because I've never been to any one of those. And ever since I saw Sophia Nygaard's video on a Japanese onsen, I was just like, it's so pretty. Actually, I think Sophia Nygaard's video was about a Korean onsen, not Japanese. But usually onsen are pretty similar across the board in that they are like a bathing facility with hot springs. Because, of course, Japan is a very volcanic country, so there's plenty of hot springs, so there's plenty of onsen. I don't know for sure but if the same goes for South Korea, but ever since I saw that video, I was just like, that looks so pretty. I want to build it. So that's the whole reason that today we're building a Japanese onsen for our Japanese macaques, just because I wanted to put a Japanase onsen in Izu. I also wanted to build one bath at least that was kind of funky, so yes. There's a wine bath. I've made a huge wine bottle and made it so that it like sprays into a bath or a spring. Although of course the onsen in Izu is not natural like they are in Japan, because the Netherlands doesn't have any volcanic activity. Actually, the Netherlands doesn't have any activity. Well, unless you insult stroopwafels, because then we will find you and we will eat you. I'm not joking. If you insult stroopwafels, we will find you. Like a call, like a mental call goes out to all Dutch people. We will then find you and we will make you into a stroopwafel. Anyways, I should probably be talking about what we're building today, which, as I said, is a Japanese onsen, but at first I wanted to just build a somewhat traditional Japanese house. And I say somewhat because I'm not going to be completely accurate with how I build my Japanese things, or just most things that aren't European centric, because I've said this in the previous video, but I have zero knowledge. And somebody, or actually I think two people in the last video said like, oh, you have zero knowledge, but then you build this. I have knowledge on how to build things. I don't have any knowledge on why I'm building things, because there's a lot of things when it comes to architecture that are relating or are somewhat intertwined with like culture, spirituality, religion and such. And because I'm not Japanese or Korean, I don't get a lot of those things. Like a lot of the meaning behind why things are placed there, or why they, like, there's also history that's connected to it. But a lot of those things are going to go over my head. So I know like, oh yeah, I need to build it like this, but I don't know why I need to build it like this. So there's this thing like for this house that I'm building, which is going to like, I'm going to try and make it as traditional as possible, but of course again there's going to be things that will just fly over my head. But for the interior of this house, I also made like a kotatsu table and tatami mats. And when it came to a kotatsu table, which is basically a table, like a lower table with a blanket or duvet surrounding it, I understood that one, because a lot of these houses, like the walls are paper thin because they use paper, so there's not a lot of like insulation in the house. So having a kotatsu table, which as I said is a low table with like a duvet covering the sides, there's usually a heating thing, like some form of heating underneath the table, whether it's attached to the underside of the table or kind of built into the floor under the table. Because of that heating thing and the duvet covering it, you have like a very warm place, which I'm going to be honest, to me sounds kind of like a nightmare. But that's mostly because my feet, I call them volcano feet, because I have kept myself awake with how warm my feet get, especially in the summer. It's just hell on earth. But yeah, a kotatsu table, I understood like why it's there and such. And then the tatami mats, which are kind of rice straw mats, if I'm correct. Again, if I'm not correct with any of these things, please call me out on it. I actually am really grateful for someone who commented in the last video of like, you know, this is not completely correct. And like, especially with like the cherry trees or the cherry or the blossom trees, that's like, oh, it's more rare to not see those trees instead of actually not, or it's, yeah, I think I said it correct the first time, but my brain was just like, no, Poison, you're probably incorrect. Let's make it even more incorrect. But yeah, he said that, oh, it's more rare to not see those cherry blossom trees. My answer to that was that they just didn't really fit well in the Japanese garden that I built, because they didn't really blend in well. They just, if the Japanese garden that I built was larger, perhaps then it could fit in better, but here it just felt very cramped in there. And he named some other things, and I'm just very happy. Language today is not one of my strong suits. Actually, when is it one of my strong suits? But I'm very grateful for that comment, because I know why like a kotatsu table is there. When it came to the tatami mats, like the rice straw mats that cover the floor in a Japanese house, but then I found out like, oh, they are laid out in some pattern that's either aesthetically or spiritually pleasing, and I have no idea. Like, I tried to find out about it, but then it was just like, also like, I can find out about this, but then this video will take a month. So there's going to just be a lot of things that are just going to fly over my head, that are just beyond me, well, not beyond me, but as I said, that are just going to fly over my head. So if you ever see something that I built and you know that's wrong, or you think that it could be done better just because this is not how it's done realistically, please tell me about it. Because I know how to build most things, but I don't know why I'm building things like that or that or that. So that's why I said, oh, I have no knowledge. It's just because I don't know why I'm building some stuff. Also, this is just completely off topic here, but yeah, this is, when it comes to the fences surrounding this habitat, oh boy, were they a headache, because you wouldn't think that the monkeys would be able to climb the fences. Well, they can. They climb the lower, like, wooden section that I built, and they somehow teleport through the glass, because that's Planet Zoo's climbing mechanics for you. So I had to spend like 3 hours going over all the fences again, removing the wooden panels that they could climb on, which is weird because, again, there's a glass plane or glass pane between them. But yeah, they could climb it for some reason. But anyway, so again, that's my explanation for why I said, oh, I have no knowledge, and then people saying, oh, but can you build this? Again, I know how to build most things, I just don't know why. And I would like that, for me, is like the biggest challenge, but also where my biggest interest is just finding out about like, oh, why is this built and why is that being used as such. Like, it's always the why questions when it comes to architecture that are fun to me to explore. However, I sadly usually don't have enough time to actually find it out. And then even then, it's like surface level knowledge, because you're not really ingrained in the cultural aspects, the spiritual, religious, and historical aspects behind things. Like, you know, only kind of a surface level thing. I'm now really just thinking of like Mulan, like the Disney movie Mulan, where it's like, it's very surface level. And anyway, let's move on, because that I don't want to get too much into that. So let's go towards something more fun. Let's just go for somebody in, I think it was Beatrice actually, who said, this is a few videos ago, but she called me the resident Planet Zoo himbo. I mean, I get it. I'm not going to argue with me being a dumbass, because I definitely am. Like, throughout this video, how many times have I misspoken already? I think if you take a shot, like a shot of vodka or whatever you like, please take just like a nice drink and not just go for just pure alcohol. You know, please be kind to yourself when it comes to that. But if you take a shot every time I misspeak, or I forget a word, or I just brabble on some words, because that's also sometimes what my brain does, where I just speak words and grammar and spelling and everything just goes out of the window, and it's just like you are hearing a toddler talk. I'm a dumbass. I'm not going to argue with you on that. However, isn't a himbo usually an attractive dumbass? I mean, I'm fine with how I look. I, however, never really saw myself as like, I think the best way to put it is conventionally attractive. I mean, I know I'm not like a Chris Hemsworth or anything. So I was just like, I'm happy with the ego boost. I mean, who wouldn't be happy with that ego boost? But I'm also just like, you're wrong. I'm debating my own attractiveness. But like for me, like the funniest thing was just that this comment for me just came out of like complete left field for me. I was just like, wait, what? Like it was just shocking to me. And to me that was just hilarious. Like I went to sleep that night and was just like, nah. Is he correct? Is he not correct? Is he? I mean, she's half correct at least. Like me being a dumbass or having like brainless moments, that's just the brand of this channel by now. Poisonblade being a dumbass. But anyway, so I just quickly wanted to point out that comment. I wanted to point out that comment for so long just because it lived in my brain rent-free for way too long. But anyways, back to the actual building. So yeah, this is a walkthrough habitat and it was such a pain to make it a walkthrough habitat because monkeys. I wanted to, like, for this habitat, I didn't really want to make it that modern. Like, yes, the baths or the springs are modern and the fences, but like the original house, I tried to make it as traditional as possible, but also using some modern things with, like, you know, the metal beams instead of the wooden ones. Most of the time these houses are made with wood and not metal, but just for the sake of this being Eve Zoo and me wanting to basically put traditional, well, Japanese, Korean and Taiwanese architecture into a blender with some futuristic seasoning, because I'm not going to limit it anymore to just Japanese, or at least this section, because there's some other things that I need to talk about, but I wanted to make it as traditional as possible just so that I can understand when I put in the more futuristic spins on it. And right now we're building, I think, the entrance to the guest entrance to the Japanese macaque habitat. I'm definitely have said Japanese macaque wrong, definitely, but when it comes to the entrance, somebody asked with the flamingo habitat, like, oh, how do you make it so that the animals don't escape out of the habitat because the doors are wide open? Which is mostly just because when you build it, Planet Zoo, you basically built a screenshot, because everything is just like, yes, you have the guests walking around and such, but you know, you don't have the guests opening doors as such, so you gotta build like it's paused in time. But the way that I make it so that the animals don't escape is actually, I think most content creators know about this trick, but it's just using the elephant grass, turning it upside down so that you have the roots on the top, and then sinking it just below the ground, just so that you don't see it, but it messes up the animals' like traversable area generator thingy, so that they actually see it as non-traversable. So the Japanese monkeys can't escape because they don't see it as, oh, this is walkable. However, they did see the fences as climbable, even though there was a glass plane. A glass plane? Oh boy. I'm really just, not really the himbo part, but the dumbass part. Like, I'm really fulfilling half of that. But for some reason, the Japanese macaques, well, actually any monkey, will just phase through glass panes if there's climbing things close to it. I found it out, and it was very annoying. In one place, I was just like, I don't want to deal with this, and I just put a bunch of rocks in front of it. I think it's near the staff entrance where I did that. I was just like, this is so annoying. Let's just put the rocks in it. Anyway, so when it comes to the Japanese onsen, as I said, it's not going to be completely accurate with how a traditional Japanese onsen is going to be, and I'm not really going to strive for accuracy because I also want to mix in some Taiwanese and Korean architecture, because I've recently actually decided to not have a Chinese section. So that whole decision is made just because Chinese and Japanese architecture, while yes, there are differences, there's also just enough similarities that they wouldn't really be standout-ish from each other. Or at least with my level of knowledge wouldn't be really standout-ish. So I'm going to look at Bhutan and Nepal for my pandas. And actually my snow leopards. There was like a lot of animals where I first thought like, oh yeah, these are for the Southeast Asia section. No, snow leopards are also still there. Like, I forgot just a lot of animals. I also am not going to put in Indian rhinos and Indian elephants, because I most likely will put in African elephants. And so I don't want like replica animals. I don't want too elephants, because then Eve Zoo is just going to crash and burn, because then I'm going to build way too much. Eventually I want to finish Eve Zoo, so if I build a lot of habitats when there's like, oh, there's 2 elephants, like there's the Indian elephant and then the African elephant, I'm probably just going to focus then on the African elephant, and so that the African element, whoa, but that the African elephant really stands out. Just as I did with like, oh, I'm not going to build a Chinese section, I'm going to go for a Bhutan, so it's a Nepal inspired section or a Himalaya inspired section instead of just Chinese, just so that it stands out more next to a Japanese area, next to a Southeast Asia area, that it just stands out more, and that is not even close to the idea of like, oh, these are similar. I really want things to really stand out. But yeah, when it came to the habitat for the Japanese macaques, oh boy, there was a lot of things that were just like, yeah, this looks pretty. Put the monkeys in. Why the hell can they climb the fence? Why the hell are they upside down climbing the roof? Yes, they did that. However, the one thing that I wanted them to do, which is just all come together in the wine baths, they didn't do. They just went to the beach bath, because I legitimately just had like 3 different baths in mind, like one with the wine bottle, one that's more inspired by like the beach with like a rocky shore and then some sand, one with like a hot spring, like somewhat mountainous feel to it. Yeah, they just all went for the beach. I mean, I get it. The Netherlands right now, it's getting warmer, so the beach becomes more attractive. So maybe the monkeys felt that through my computer. I can definitely feel it right now because I want to put my air conditioning on, but yeah, you would hear that. It would sound like I'm just recording this in front of a jet engine because it's that loud. However, it works really well as well, so as soon as I'm done with this voiceover, I'm probably going to put it on and just be like, I mean, it's not even that warm. It's not even 20 degrees Celsius, probably, but my body likes 5 degrees. I really just like cold weather, just because, again, the entire idea is you can put on as many layers of clothes as you like. You can't take off as many layers of clothes as you like, because eventually you're just going to be naked. And then the only thing you can do is take your skin off, and then you probably won't survive that. Like, it will be cool for a second, and then it will be really cool because you're dying. But anyways, that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you liked the video. I know it's not going to be completely accurate to a realistic traditional Japanese onsen, but I like the look of it. Like, I like how it looks in Izu, and it's not going to be completely realistic. It's not going to be completely accurate, because eventually there's always the thing of like, I'm going to choose aesthetics and how it looks over how realistic it is. That's throughout Eve Zoo. But anyways, as I've said, I hope you liked this video. If you did, there is the like button and the subscribe button if you want to see more. There's also the notification button, but before that one starts working, I will not have brain farts at my outros. Anyways, have a wonderful day, guys. Bye bye.